Hello everyone, thanks for joining me. Today I'm going to be talking about probably the number one most searched for topic in the baby sleep world, how to get a baby to sleep through the night. It can be really hard to support clients in a responsive way when there's so much misinformation about this subject. Many claim that all babies can sleep long, uninterrupted stretches from a young age, or they make controversial statements about what might eliminate night waking. Some of these are unsafe, inappropriate, untrue, or just downright weird. So I'll be explaining the truth about night waking, when little ones really sleep through the night reliably, and how to support your clients to have realistic expectations alongside achieving sleep sustainability. And you definitely want to watch till the end because I'm sharing practical tips for sustainable sleep. Before we delve further, this channel focuses on empowering sleep coaches and anyone enthusiastic about sleep who's eager to discover responsive, attachment-focused solutions. If you're keen on exploring more videos like this, make sure to tap the like and subscribe buttons, and that way you'll be notified every week when we release a new video. For anyone who's new round here, I'm Dr. Lyndsey Hookway, paediatric nurse, responsive sleep advocate, IBCLC, author and researcher. Through our holistic sleep coaching program, we've transformed thousands of families worldwide. One of the most common reasons for hiring a sleep coach is to get support with night waking and sleeping through the night when a child is developmentally ready. So friends, whatever your questions about sleeping through the night, I've probably heard them. Contrary to popular belief, many parents aren't necessarily looking for their little one to sleep 12 hours solidly each night at a young age. While some babies do that spontaneously, most don't, and many parents are realistic about that. What they're looking for is support from a knowledgeable sleep coach who they trust not to implement inappropriate sleep strategies. They want sleep sustainability. They want their child's sleep optimized in an age and developmentally appropriate way. And I'm not just saying this, I receive hundreds of messages from parents every week telling me how meaningful it is when I or people we've trained empower them with the tools they need to handle their child's sleep responsively. This is exactly why the Holistic Sleep Coaching Program was born. It was driven by a cultural shift in parenting expectations. We teach and mentor our sleep coaches to support families who desire genuinely gentle sleep solutions to achieve great results without sacrificing responsiveness. Coaches like Claire, who had undertaken several sleep certifications before ours and realised there were huge chunks of knowledge missing that prevented her from being able to support families in the way that they needed. She now runs a highly successful business supporting a rapidly growing number of parents in Australia who are opting for this nurturing and responsive style of sleep and parent coaching. Okay, so sleeping through the night. There is still a prevalent idea that babies will sleep through the night fairly early. Often people state that by 6 months, little ones will be sleeping through. And this is something that mainstream sleep trainers will emphasise, with the direct or indirect implication that if a child isn't sleeping through at this age, that they either should be or that sleep training will fix this. But what do they even mean by sleeping through the night? How is this defined? Sleeping through the night is a subjective term. It's sometimes defined as 5 hours, sometimes 10 to 12. So using the same term, two families with very different experiences might state that their child was sleeping through the night, even though one sleeps for 5 hours and the other sleeps for 10 hours in a row. The definitions are woolly, and not all sleep researchers measure sleep in the same way or use the same defining characteristics. More problematically, some studies use parental report, which has widely been found to be inaccurate, whereas others use more objective forms of sleep measurement, such as actigraphy. So this is the first stumbling block. And why 6 months? What's so special about this age that means babies would be sleeping through? Some people say that at 6 months, infants are capable of learning to self-soothe. Others say that at 6 months, they no longer need night feeds. Some claim that once they start solid foods at around 6 months, they will sleep through. Others refer to developments in their circadian rhythm or sleep cycles. How many of these have you heard? Let's get myth-busting. First, infants at 6 months are no more able to self-soothe than they are at birth, or 5 months and 3 weeks for that matter. Nothing magic happens within their forebrain to enable more mature self-regulatory abilities at this age. This is a gradual process that occurs over several years. In fact, fully mature self-regulation is an adult skill, not something that can be reasonably expected of babies and young children. Second, while many textbooks will claim that infants no longer need night feeds at 6 months, this is not backed up anywhere at all by scientific study. The people making these claims usually have no training whatsoever in infant feeding and nutrition. Third, when infants start solids, what begins is a very slow and gradual process of phasing in solid food. At first, there will be no discernible decrease in milk feeds, partly because the kinds of foods and food volumes we offer young babies will be extremely low in calories and nutrients, but also because milk continues to provide almost all the nutrition they need. And fourth, there are indeed developments and maturations in the circadian rhythm and sleep cycle, but let's not forget that the sleep cycle is still only around an hour at this age and will continue to be this way until they are around 3 to 5 years old. The maturation of their circadian rhythm definitely won't be enough to get them sleeping long, consolidated stretches. So what do research studies say about sleeping through the night, or rather, as you'll find out, waking at night? The 5-hour criteria was initially published by Moore and Ucko in 1957. In their study, they found that 70% of infants slept a 5-hour stretch by 3 months. However, although this study was largely responsible for the widespread adoption of popular recommendations that infants can and should sleep through the night at an early age, what was less well publicised was the fact that sleeping through meant 5 hours only, and also that half of those infants in the sample resumed more frequent night waking by the time they were 6 months old. A very large study by Mari Heising and colleagues in 2014 found that 70% of 6-month-olds wake 1 to 3 times per night, with 20% waking more than 3 times a night. The Brown and Harries study in 2015 looked at 6 to 12-month-old babies and found that nearly 80% of the children in the sample were waking at night. The average number of wake-ups was 1.77 in fact, but the range was 0 to 7, so it's clear that night waking is pretty common. And in case anyone thinks night waking is still something that only happens to infants under 1, a study by Hoyniak and colleagues in 2019 found that between 2.5 and 3.5 years old, children wake up to 4 times per night, and many of the wake-ups last for more than 30 minutes. Just because less research on night waking is carried out on toddlers does not mean they're not waking up. In another recent study, Marie Penestri and colleagues conducted some research looking at the variable nature of sleeping through the night, which in this study was defined as 6 hours straight among infants at 6 months of age. They acknowledge that in some studies there is an ever-never classification of sleeping through the night, which means that even if an infant slept through the night once during the study period, using whatever definition of sleeping through the night that the researchers used, they were counted as having slept through the night. Penestri found that infant sleep was highly variable between 8 and 14 months, which fits with what I observe, and noted that it tends to be especially variable at key developmental stages. It's variable between infants and within infants. This means that infants vary between each other in terms of their longest stretch of sleep, but they also vary from night to night within the same infant. There were more wake-ups at 12 months than at 6 months, which flies in the face of the commonly held belief that sleep gradually gets better with age. Notably though, what they also found was that there was a huge range in their sample of the longest stretch of consolidated sleep, between just over 2 hours to over 10 hours. They found that 20% of infants never slept through the night, that was 6 hours remember, and only 6% always did. The rest had highly variable sleeping patterns. 40% of the babies in the sample slept through the night for 5 out of 13 nights, but the rest were much less consistent than this. The takeaway point here is that if a baby sleeps through the night, that does not mean they've cracked it. It's likely to continue to have variability, especially around key developmental stages. Interestingly, sleep medicine is not a responsive parenting-friendly journal as a rule, so the findings are even more meaningful to me in a journal that usually promotes behavioural sleep training. It's significant because many sleep research articles are using that ever-never definition, and therefore the number of children who sleep through the night may be significantly less if a more realistic definition was used. This would be very likely to alleviate anxiety around consolidated nighttime sleep for parents. Is it beginning to sink in that sleeping through the night isn't really something we can reliably expect of all infants? How does that fit with your experiences of supporting families? Let me know in the comments. So let's think about why children continue to wake in the night into the second or third year of life and maybe beyond. Hunger, thirst, being hot or cold, increased need for connection, starting childcare, developmental stages and changes, new siblings, wet beds, teeth, illness, stressful days at nursery, sensory sensitivity, dysregulation, allergy, tummy aches, separation anxiety, nightmares, nutrient deficiency, sleep pathology. Can you think of any others? But now let's think about how you can support your clients to have realistic expectations alongside finding sustainability. First, normalise night waking. Many parents feel guilty, ashamed, or judged for their child's night waking and often blame themselves. This is partly to do with mainstream sleep training culture positioning parents as the cause of so-called behavioural sleep problems, such as a child needing their parent to fall asleep. This is in fact normal infant and young child behaviour. The parent has not caused this pattern, rather they have responded to their child's inherent needs. Nothing to feel guilty for there. Second, focus on calm and connection rather than sleep. Sleep occurs in the parasympathetic nervous system state. If a child is alert, active, excited, stressed, anxious, frustrated, or rattled in any way, their sympathetic nervous system, aka their stress response, will be activated to a greater or lesser extent. Focusing on getting the child and their parent calm and regulated is often the key to optimal sleep. Third, rule out obvious causes for night waking, including illness, feeding problems, sleep pathology, sensory issues, and environmental disturbances. Does your current sleep diary or intake form ask about these underlying causes? If not, maybe it needs an update. If a child does have an underlying cause or yellow flag symptom, this may mean a referral to a more suitably qualified professional to make further assessments and plan appropriate care. Fourth, take a close look at sleep patterns. Does this child's overall sleeping pattern need an overhaul? Consider the variability of sleep needs, naps, bedtimes, and sleep hygiene. Sometimes there's an obvious cause of night waking that can be fixed through adjusting naps or bedtime, or an element of their pre-sleep routine. And finally, separate normal from easy or sustainable. Just because something is normal doesn't mean it's manageable, but starting from the position that the night waking pattern is normal means that we neither blame the child or the parent. We just try to think of creative, responsive, compassionate solutions to try to achieve a pattern that is sustainable. Wrapping up, we've covered a lot today. Remember, night waking is common among infants and toddlers, and there isn't a fixed age for babies to sleep through the night. Studies reveal wide variations in sleep patterns. Understanding normal sleep behaviours and supporting parents without guilt is key. Focus on maintaining calmness, addressing underlying causes, analysing sleep patterns and finding sustainable solutions. And always remember, normal doesn't always mean easy. I truly hope you found this video valuable. Let me know your thoughts and experiences in the comments. And if you're seeking relatable, practical and evidence-based sleep support, you can book a call with our team to learn more about our holistic sleep coaching program. And if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe to our channel for more. Until next time.